millions of Nigerians. Ababi has no statistics, and he doesn't even know how to go about acquiring one or getting one. But you see, very many people don't even understand the debacle in this electoral act. Let me just explain it in a layman's language. You see, what the greater majority of Nigerians are yearning for is that we are still doing normal manual voting. You will come to the polling booth in the morning. You get your accreditation through the beavers. You wait when the casting of votes starts. You go and cast your vote. And you stay there if you have the time to stay and make sure that there's no shenanigan going on. When the votes are closed, when the voting is closed and the votes are counted, they will want the thing to be entered in Form EC8A. That Form EC8A is the form which you use to calculate and collect the results. After putting it there, the electoral officer, the agents of the political parties will sign the form. After signing, that's where we now come in. This electronics we are talking about. You will now snap that result sheet from EC8A with your beavers machine and then send it to INEC view portal, which you call IRF, in Abuja Strait. See, the thing we are talking about is that when you transmit it via that electronic transmission, that will serve as primary source of attaining results of any election in any polling booth. But now, the Senate said, yes, they will agree to that. But, you know, one man in a place says that he doesn't hear English so much, but once he hears bet, he will know that something don't spoil. So, but where there is no network, that's what's called provision law. Where there is no network, from EC8A, which shall now be sent up to collection center manually, because that is the hobnob of election rigging, that collection center, shall be used as the primary source of election results. That's the one we say we disagree with. That provided, or that bet they put there. So they have agreed on transmission, which INEC did before, but they did it via their own rules. Now it is law. But now, this caveat is what Nigerians are saying, remove it. Because we have seen experiences where you can resort to manual. Even the last of 2023, when Mahmoud suddenly said he has glitches. We're now asking what type of glitch do you have? They now resorted to manual. And Supreme Court now upheld it and said that they can resort to manual because the issue of electronic transmission was not part of the law of INEC. So what we are debating all this while is, why should they put that proviso?
I mean, that is the big question. And many people are also asking, who then determines if there was a network failure or not? Good. So let's look at, a recap from what happened at the signing ceremony at the Senate yesterday. If we do have that ready, it would be great for us to see for ourselves, because many people see it as new information that the president has indeed stamped his signature of authority on this controversial act, hence making the 2022 version obsolete. Let's take a look.
All Nigerians wanted was that in the IRF portal, which is a kind of viewing center of the outcome of most of the polling unit results, that they would like to see that transmitted electronically. We have included that in the amendment that has just been signed into Act of Parliament. But we also took cognizance of areas where there may not be any network, where there may not be communication capacities and availability. And we said, since the polling unit result comes in Form EC8A, which is signed by the presiding officer, signed by the agents, and signed in the presence of security agents, copies are given to all. Then we can use that as a primary source of collation at that unit. And then, of course, we transmit it, even if there's no network at that time. Once we step out of there, maybe towards the ward center or the local government center, it will drop into the IRF, and people will still be able to view. The implication of that is that if what is eventually collated at the next center is different from what is in the IRF, Nigerians will be able to compare whether the election result had been tampered with. And for us, that had always been the problem in the country, that once election result leaves a polling unit, it will be tampered with or mutilated. That has been eliminated today. So we are satisfied that we have met the aspiration of Nigerians. The issue of real time also comes in. Once you transmit, even if there's no network at that time, once you go to where there's network, it will still drop. So eventually everything will still be shown. So we are happy and satisfied that we have been able to interpret the intentions and the yearnings of majority of Nigerians, not those who are politically motivated, not few people who make noise. Noise is different from lawmaking. And I always say, no matter what we did in the last 2 years, we went to retreat in Lagos, we went to retreat in Ibadan, everywhere. Those things were just mere consultations. The final outcome of what was amended happens in the plenaries of both chambers. And we felt in the last 1 month that we have done a lot. And even the Senate, for instance, we sacrificed even the holidays. The Mr. Speaker had to call back members who were on a bit of a break from plenaries, from budget sessions, to come back and undertake this all-important national assignment. That's why I said we are very satisfied that going forward, we are going to have more transparent elections. This has never happened since 1960. We have never had electronic transmission of results in any of our laws. We never even recognized the IRF in the 2022 Act. All those things are now there. And at the end of the day, more powers are given to political parties, that they should decide who their candidates are. And above all, participatory democracy, more inclusiveness. Members of different political parties are now allowed to do direct primaries. That means you can...
I mean, it was such an inconvenience for the Senate to have to reconvene plenaries, abruptly, despite the fact that the senators were on break. Also, you've heard from Senator Godswill Akpabio himself, and the Senate is content, and he says their yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians have been satisfied.
Well, that's why I said earlier in my intro that I don't know how I got the statistics of Nigerians that are satisfied with what they have done. You see, there is also a lacuna which we keep on hammering in that law. That lacuna is that he pointed it out himself, that Nigerians will view the one transmitted to the IRF and the one collected manually and compare notes. He didn't tell us that the law has made it that when there is a conflict between the one in the manual and the one uploaded in the IRF, that the one in the IRF takes precedence. That's ordinary should also be in the law. Because tomorrow now, Supreme Court will simply tell you that, because Tinubu even said it, that electronic computer cannot replace manual voting and manual collection of results. So they are still trying to rely on manual. And what I said about precedents, we saw what happened in Uganda. They shut down the internet for over 4 days during the election. And we saw the manipulations that went on. So this is what those of us angling that proviso should be removed. That's our fear. You recall that during the time of, what is his name, Lai Mohammed, that there was a time they shut down Twitter in Nigeria. We are all witnesses to these things. And what stops you as a network provider, if the person who gave you a license, like the Nigerian Telecommunication Commission, says, please shut down internet, because these people might use it to create a different result from the one they are going to get on the internet. And they obey. Because if you don't do it, they will shut you, they will shoot you, they will remove your license. You're like, you are here under the control of the Nigerian Communication Commission. The extent is you air on national televisions like this, you get sanctions. So, but those kind of rigid control of the media, gagging the media, that is why a lot of people now rely on social media to even get information they need. So, Akpabio, I do believe that it is the presidency that is beating the drum of the music in dancing at the National Assembly. Because if the presidency accepted, he said they reconvened, fine. Because they saw the protest. When they now saw the protest, I know the protest is going to grow louder and louder. So they're now reconvened, even when they said they're on break. Because that their break was a decoy they wanted to use to make sure that in the course of trying to amend the law, that the 360 days allowed by the Constitution has elapsed. And they will not tell you, no, make us make do with the 2022 Act, because we don't have time again. But with the activists that were in Abuja assembled, and they're still assembling. And like I said, this protest is not going to stop. Certainly not going to stop, because it might eventually, trickle down to states, and they occupy both houses of assembly and NEC offices. Because Amipiton cannot guarantee us a good election, because the off-season election we witnessed him conduct, we are not anything to write home about.
So you don't have any trust in Joash?
I don't.
But now, according to the impact of this, the ripple effect is that regardless of what we say, regardless of what day of the Occupy Nas protest we are now, President Tinubu has endorsed this act. So now Nigerians have to turn to INEC to deliver. So INEC is basically is it INEC the city boy or the village boy?
Hey.
Well, you see, like I said, for now, that assent makes that in the law of election in Nigeria. For this moment we are sitting down here, it has repealed the 2020 Act by this one that amended, signed into law yesterday. But shifting to INEC.
INEC is in charge now. INEC is the author and finisher.
Shifting to INEC, I'm still trying to configure the kind of responsibility that INEC will be placed. That will be placed on the shoulder of INEC.
That's the core responsibility of
also,
INEC, to carry out free, fair elections.
I'm coming.
And they were charged to avoid all glitches.
Okay, that is a statement.
A statement. They should avoid glitches in 2027 polls.
Is that statement justiciable?
Well,
that is the question.
Peter Obi said we don't want any glitches again.
I don't even know if the Peter Obi's statement is it justiciable. What we are talking about is, a lot of Nigerian elections end up in court. What we are talking about is when you go to court, you have an act, you have a law that you can say, on so and so date, at polling booth 9 in so and so place in Enugu State, the election result was not transmitted, despite the fact that there was network. And having not transmitted, the election that was gotten in that kind of polling booth should be struck down. That is what the law has mandated you to do. And they now look at it. Because this proviso, like I said, it will be surprised on that election day, because I think they are now bringing it down to January. That election
talking about December.
Okay.
2026.
There might be no network anywhere in Nigeria. They said network has failed. I think we said it before. Because these people. See, what you sometimes need to ask yourself in this kind of rigmarole, back and front rigmarole that's going on in national assemblies, who among them is afraid of electronic transmission of votes? The only thing that electronic transmission of votes can do, it will not even stop rigging. It can stop rigging if you want to rig. But the thing is that it will minimize it to a very large scale. Let me tell you how to minimize it. You see, I have participated in an election in Nigeria from almost when I was in the university. I was at 1982, 1983, when Ono and Nnadiume had their contest. We were polling clerks and those little jobs as students in the university then. But the thing is that collation, there are about 2 collation centers. We have one at the ward level. We have another one at the local government level, and then the state collection center. From where the state resident electoral commissioner will now
the federal
get the result and send it to Abuja. Now, what we are talking about is that when you finish that result in the polling booth, people are there watching you, and they see you snap it, and you show them it had delivered with the green or 2 goods that you mark. You can go home and rest. Because even if you open the IRF portal in your own phone, you will see that your own word has delivered in that portal, because you can access it from your phone.
Yes.
That was the idea, wasn't it?
That's the idea. But now, if you want to rig the election, that means you have to go to all the polling booths in Nigeria to rig the election. Because it cannot